Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of the worst articles I've ever actually seen. This is just a very stupid way to try and address the problems going on in society. Now I get it, there's a lot of problems in society and a lot of things that we could be addressing in total, but this is just a way of more or less dividing people racially. It doesn't really serve any good purpose, and it actually upset a lot of people. This person, well, Deadspin, the people who put this article out, kind of got ratioed on Twitter. A lot of people were destroying them in the comments, and rightfully so. I mean, when you write garbage like this and you basically just put out stuff that only really serves to divide people, I think that's really the only appropriate response. And one of the great things about it was people pretty much were toasting this from every background, right? It wasn't like this only upset white people or it only upset somebody else, right? Like it wasn't really a group thing. It was more or less everybody coming together to realize that this was a garbage fucking article that didn't deserve to be given any credit for trying to address any issues. And frankly, you see a lot of garbage like this in the media, and it's one of the reasons why I really try not to pay attention to a lot of these mainstream outlets. Now, Deadspin is more of like a sports website, you know, they do a lot of sports journalism and stuff. I know not every single one of you is really into sports or anything, but trust me, this is just completely stupid, and it's something that needs to be called out. So, obviously, we're aware that there's been some incidents in the United States over the last few days, some mass casualty events, most notably the one that took place in Buffalo. It is something that is plaguing our society, right? Like here in the United States, we clearly have an issue with this kind of thing that needs to be addressed. But I don't think the best way to address these kinds of problems is to write articles that are just clearly race bait, only serving to divide people by their racial boundaries even more. Not only is this quite literally what the person who did this heinous act want to happen in the first place, but it also divides people to the point that we can't really come together, which is exactly what needs to happen in order for us to address issues like this going on. A country like the United States cannot function properly if everybody is constantly divided on these kinds of topics. If you have people being divided on things like as trivial as what race you are, to the point that you can't come together and like adequately talk about an issue like this and come to a genuine conclusion that helps benefit everything, well then society's kind of fucked, if we're being honest. Because I mean, when the next issue rolls around, guess what they're gonna do? Guess exactly what the number one thing they're gonna target is. They're gonna try to divide everybody by these kinds of boundaries again. And unfortunately, it works too well here in the United States. This kind of thing works too well. So, I mean, let's go ahead and take a look at this and see what's going on, because I'm pretty sure that most people are going to look at this and be like, yeah, this is ridiculous. So, the headline for this was, white fans were entertained by black athletes a day after a racist killed black people in Buffalo. This is what white supremacy looks like. No, this is not what white supremacy looks like. And the sad thing is, Deadspin knows this isn't what white supremacy looks like, but they want to trivialize the issue, right? White supremacy is clearly an issue, right? Like this guy was an espoused white supremacist, and he did basically everything he did in the name of supremacy for white people, right? I mean, that much is true. We know this, right? He basically wrote this big manifesto and everything, but at the same time, is it really white supremacy because white people were watching predominantly black players play basketball? That's really what white supremacy is being boiled down to? Not the fact that this guy just killed fucking nearly a dozen people in a supermarket, but because people were watching a basketball game? The article is just as bad, trust me. Like, people are trying to, you know, save face for this article. The people defending it are like, oh, you didn't even read the article. Joke's on you, I've read the article numerous times now, and it's just as bad as this race baiting bullshit. So, this did not go well at all, right? Like, it's gotten thousands of quote tweets, people are destroying them in the comments, and honestly, rightfully so. This kind of shit is complete garbage, okay? And it not only does it not make sense, but at the same time, it's pretty fucking disgusting in reality. So basically what Deadspin's doing here is they're trivializing this mass tragedy that unfolded so that they can get clicks on their website. They're trivializing something that genuinely fucking has the country distraught. And they're writing the worst possible article so that they can just fucking print out basically people clicking on it. And unfortunately, people like me criticizing it or lambasting it for what it really is also give into it a little bit because we give them the click they want and whatnot. But at the same time, shit like this deserves to be called out. So let's take a look at the actual article itself and see what they have to say. So Sports only serve as an escape from society if you're white. A long time ago, in 2020, this country was in the midst of what white America deemed a racial awakening. The fact that they called it that was all the proof anyone needed to realize that it was less of an awakening and more of an oxymoron. But yet, here we are, 3 years post that awakening, and everything is back to business as if Nancy Pelosi taking a knee in kente cloth and all those DEI workshops that were held at your job magically fixed hundreds of years of racism. And if you don't believe me, both of Sunday's Game 7s were proof that the awakening was only a brief moment of pseudo-accountability that's passed. Alright, since you're apparently the fucking racial brigade here and you know exactly how to solve racism, explain to me how trivializing NBA playoff matches as this is a perfect example of racism and white supremacy, please explain to me what that does to fix the fucking problem whatsoever. You gotta love the divisive language too. The fact that they, those whites, whatever call it that, really only proves what this article is actually really about. Is it about healing the fucking racial pain that this country's dealt with for hundreds of years? Is it about bringing society closer together so we can actually come for answers that solve these problems? Absolutely not. It only serves to divide people more. It only serves to divide, those whites that believe this, because, every white person believes the same exact shit. That's not a completely fucking ridiculous comment to make in the first place at all. How dare they, watch this NBA game and trivialize these problems? It's only an escape from society if you're white. On Sunday, 4 teams played in 2 Game 7s. The Milwaukee Bucks and Boston Celtics were up first, followed by the Phoenix Suns and Dallas Mavericks. 3 of the 4 head coaches are black, along with the overwhelming majority of the team's rosters. However, in Boston, where one of the games was played, over 52% of the population is white, according to the latest census, and in Phoenix, where the Suns were the host, over 68% of the residents are white. What does this mean? That a day after Black America was shaken to its core because we've now realized a grocery store on our side of town has become the latest place where we can be killed just for existing, black players from the Celtics, Bucks, Suns, and Mavericks had to play in a winner-go-home game to advance to the conference finals despite the feelings that all of us were experiencing, and yet no one seemed to care or ask them about it. It was clear that basketball mattered, but not black lives or the black psyche so much. Okay, so you bring up the racial diversity of the cities that these places, are getting played in. I guess the NBA owners decades ago when they created these teams should have considered that a Deadspin article would come out one day where, they expose them for living, or I guess playing really, in predominantly white cities. They should have just, gone to cities where, the majority of the population isn't white, because that would have really solved all these racial issues, right? What does it matter that the percentage of these cities are white? What does that matter? It has nothing to do with the direct purchase of tickets to the NBA game. For all you know, these statistics wouldn't even matter because who fucking knows what race of people are going to NBA games? I'm pretty sure it's a very diverse crowd. There's literally nothing that proves or really kind of even attributes the amount of racial makeup in the city to whether or not an NBA team should be playing after a mass tragedy unfolded. Like, what the fuck are you actually talking about? Once again, only serves to divide people by race. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns? Hey, they play in a city where almost 7 out of 10 people are white. Who gives a fuck? What does it matter? It has nothing to do with the issue at hand. It only serves to divide people. And I love how the article writes it as if only black Americans were distraught by what happened in Buffalo. As a white person, seeing what happened in Buffalo, I was sick to my fucking stomach, because the idea that we live in a world where there's genuinely people out there that are willing to go as far as going into a fucking supermarket targeted towards a racial makeup of an area to literally just murder people based on their race is fucking disgusting to me. I think that concept has nothing to do with your racial makeup. If you make excuses for somebody going into a store and killing people based on their race, you're just a terrible fucking person. It has nothing to do with your race. But apparently only black Americans were affected by this, No white people ever called this out or felt bad about this or fucking, even felt the slightest amount of disgust about what happened. Those damn whites. And also, yeah, why would they ask a bunch of basketball players how they feel about something that happened in a city where they're not fucking playing, a city that doesn't even have an NBA team in the first place, literally hours after it happened? You gotta think, there's probably a good portion of people that didn't even know this shit happened by the time these games were being played. Not everybody perpetually lives on fucking Twitter and is able to understand when shit's happening the moment that it does. I know people who 2 days after it happened were like, hey yo, did you hear about the shit in Buffalo? And I'm like, yeah, I heard about it when it happened. reason, but that's because they aren't on the fucking internet doing their job like I am. This idea that people were supposed to instantly fucking react to it and whatnot is ridiculous. Of course they weren't gonna bring this up in a fucking basketball game. What, should they bring it up in the preschool classroom the next morning too? Hey, what'd you guys think about the Buffalo shooting, kids? Did it scare ya? Did it scare ya enough? Like, what the fuck? And despite how well Jason Tatum and Grant Williams played Sunday in Boston, or how Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie stepped up on the road in Phoenix, just know they did so despite what happened to people that look just like them on Saturday. Because when you're a black athlete in America competing at the highest level as a form of entertainment to the rest of the world, all while knowing that the majority of people that cheer for you don't think your life matters, may be the hardest part of the game that you work at that a reporter will never ask about. Once again, stupid fucking blanket statement that not only doesn't make sense, but also probably isn't even true. As of September 2021, 55% of polled Americans actually supported the Black Lives Matter movement, which this article's like really names a lot, because apparently that's the only way that you can show like racial support, is to just be a Black Lives Matter supporter. And it brings it up in the article about how, you know, back in 2020 they were allowed to like kneel for the anthem, and how they had it on like the basketball court and stuff like that, and people had their slogans on their jerseys and whatnot. So if the vast majority of Americans, 55% at least, support Black Lives Matter, why would you say that the majority of people watching probably don't even think your life matters? Once again, only serves to fucking divide people. Who said your life doesn't matter? Like, in this specific situation, who said your life didn't matter? Did the white NBA players say they fucking don't think your life matters? I'm confused. It's just, once again, a blanket statement meant to divide people. You really don't know what the people in the crowd fucking think. You don't know what they support, what their ideas are, but yet, based on their skin tone being white, you want to make an assumption that they don't give a fuck about you, or the players on the court, or any sort of racial issue happening in our country. How about you do what you're supposed to do as a fucking journalist, and you ask these people? Oh wait, you're not one of the journalists that has to actually ask people things, you know, you don't have to ask questions and find answers to them, right? What it takes to be a journalist today is to just write divisive bullshit that only serves to upset people and divide them on their racial lines and stuff, right? This is one of the worst articles I've ever read, and it's because, number one, it doesn't answer any questions. Number two, it provides no legitimate information. Number three, everything said in there is pretty much factually incorrect. Number four, it's based entirely on emotion, and it does nothing but actually divide people. And number five, you bring up the worst possible evidence to support your claims, like shit that doesn't even align to anything. So yeah, this is garbage, and I wish shit like this would stop getting written so people can actually come together and solve problems without these fucking idiots in the media constantly telling them that they should believe this garbage that only really hurts everything we're trying to fix. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below, and until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about this dog shit article and signing out.